A good deal, depending on where you're at. This is a really good question, and I assume this is for I'm going to answer the question for people who are starting out in real estate, and I'll try and do it in a wide range so that if you're in the States, you'll get value out of this, and if you're in Puerto Rico, you'll get value out of this. So I'm going to answer it two ways. A good deal in the States, you can fairly easily determine the value of a house, and I'm going to answer this as let's say single family houses, right? So we'll just throw out the stuff we do in Puerto Rico where we're turning vacant office into hotel rooms. I'm going to say you're buying a single family house and you're in Florida, and you've looked at every house that's on the market in a zip code that you're interested in, and you know that this one house, this is an outlier, you're able to buy it cheaper than anything else, and this works in Florida and it works in Puerto Rico. In Florida, you have an advantage that you can go on Zillow and you can easily kind of determine what the value is. The Zillow will give you a Zestimate. In Puerto Rico, you don't get the Zestimate, but it's the same concept. Look at everything in a zip code, look at everything in the area in which you want to buy. If you look at 10 or 15 houses, there'll be one or two that sort of stand out. You're generally speaking going to look for something that's a bit distressed, probably vacant, not looking as good as the other properties in the neighborhood. Those are sort of easy things to look at. And I would say if you are looking at something that's beautiful, in great condition, there's no reason that they're going to sell to a real estate investor. You have to have distress. So how would I go about determining that something's a good deal without knowing the price of anything? What does it look like on the outside? Is it distressed? Are their windows broken? Is the yard 6 feet high? Is the roof covered in a blue tarp? These are all indicators that there's probably some value, right? Like you're going to be able to buy it at a discount from what it would sell for in a very good condition. Now you have to determine what's it worth in a very good condition. And you need to do that in all markets, whether you're in the States or you're in Puerto Rico. And again, it's much, much easier to do this probably in every one of the 50 states in the United States than it is in Puerto Rico. But let's talk about that for a second. If you look at Zillow and every house on the street is sold for $200,000 and they all look beautiful, and you can buy something for $100,000 that needs work, you can reasonably expect that when you're done and it's fixed up, it's going to sell for $200,000. Pretty simple,
yes.
Right?
So what I would add to that, so it's different in the States because you can find data easier.
You can find data
but
easier.
Something even you taught me in the first year is like, we drove past, so Robert gets calls all the time, and people call him all the time and say, hey, I got this. Would you come and look at it? It's a deal for you, blah, 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 blah. And we would drive that year, go over there, go look at it, and get there. And we're usually not always with a realtor, which is with someone that's selling it or something along the lines, right?
Yeah.
And they tell you, hey, I want $250 for it. And you're like, well, okay. And we would leave. You don't give an answer right there, not for the most part, not usually, but you always try to give them an offer. So if they want to move forward with something else, they do.
Yep.
But a lot of the time we would drive around that area we were looking at, whatever property you were thinking of buying, and find a for sale sign.
And we'd call
by somebody else and maybe compare it. Maybe it's a better looking house than the one next to it. How much are they trying to sell that house for?
Yeah.
And that gives you a number like maybe my after repair value can be this.
Yeah.
And if they're asking $250 and that house is worth $400 right next door and it's about the same, then maybe it's not a bad deal, and you can kind of gauge it like that. And then you got to look for the other factors. Like Robert said, is there a tarp? Is there this? What area is it in? And go from there. And the hardest part for me, it's been for me when I go to these places, is knowing what it's going to cost to fix, because I haven't gone through that yet. We've done 2 wholesale deals. And the one deal that I'm about to hopefully start the renovations on is the one that's going to give me the school I need to be like, all right, this is what it could cost. This is what this price can get me for this. So that's what I'm missing personally for me, and being like, all right, now I know this. All right, it needs a new roof, it needs new floorings, it needs this. All right, then maybe it's like $60,000. Does it add up that I still have enough money on the top to be like, all right, I'll get there?
So I think if you can be into something all in with renovations, purchase and renovations, and be into it for 65 cents on the dollar is a really good kind of ballpark. That's a good deal. So if I can be into a $100,000 house for $65,000, I'm going to make some money. If I can be into a $200,000 house for double $65,000, $130,000,
Yeah,
that's a good deal. So that's purchase and renovations.
yeah,
And then you've got to take into consideration hold time and stuff like that. And if you're borrowing money, what's your cost of money? But that's really broad. If you can buy it right and renovate it right, and
if you're selling
be
with a
all in
realtor
at that 65 cents on the dollar, you've probably got a good deal in most markets.